Hello everybody and welcome to our little tour of our optical lab C50 and how we use photonic crystals for biosensing. First, let's go into the lab. Well, before we go into the lab, let's check if there's anybody in there and the laser's on. Laser lights off. Alright, let's go in there. Let's open the door. And let's have a quick look around of all the gear that we have. On the left you see all the setups, and on the right you will see soon a photonic crystal. The photonic crystal has the property when illuminated under a specific angle, the light which is diffracted will change, and you will see soon that the light on the photonic crystal changes from violet to turquoise and back to violet or greenish. And this is a property that we use for biosensing. Before we start the measurement with the photonic crystal, we check whether the photonic crystal is working with our spectrometer. And before we check the photonic crystal, we check whether the spectrometer is working. And we do that by turning off and on the light and also checking whether a white light, for example, is being measured correctly. You can see me here now holding a fiber and illuminating it with a white light. In order to tilt the photonic crystal correctly, we have an apparatus which facilitates this task. If you place the photonic crystal correctly inside, you can illuminate it from top and tilt it accordingly with a graduated angular scale. And what you see on the screen right now is, depending upon the angle of illumination, the spectral properties of the photonic crystal changes. Before we can use the photonic crystal for biosensing, we need to place it in a fluidic chamber. And you can see me here setting this up. First I put down the photonic crystal, then I use a gasket, and then I use a second simple glass cover to seal it off. I press it between two metal holders, and once that is done, we can inject it with wing flow cannules. Before we start the measurement, we need to set up the system correctly. So again, we do the tilting trick. Then, a little later, once I have done that, I turn on the light source, turn on the camera, and let the system warm up for a couple of minutes, usually about half an hour. Before starting the measurement, I'm going to do one last final check for the tilting feature, and you see on the image that the camera images changes from orange to green, indicating the spectral property changes of the photonic crystal. What you see here now is an actual image of the photonic crystal under illumination. And if you change the refractive index of the fluid chamber, for example from water to ethanol, you will see a change in intensity in the illumination. And this is what we actually use to detect proteins. What you just saw was a change from water to ethanol and back to water. And now we're adding an antibody into the fluid chamber, and you will see how within the black circles the light intensity changes, and this is an indication that there's actually protein binding to the surface. And this can be used to use the photonic crystal for biosensing. And this concludes our little tour of our lab C50 and how we use photonic crystals for biosensing. Thank you for watching and hope to see you soon.